Hey guys, welcome back to Big Wolf Gaming 1503 with me, Big Wolf. Today I have a battle for you between Norsca and the Empire. Empire will be played by my friend Joe Cool, and myself will be playing Norsca. Today I'm trying a couple of experimental things, so we'll see how they turn out. My friend decided to bring 2 units of spears with him, 2 units of halberds on the front line for the Empire, 2 great cannons, a warrior priest on a horse, I believe. I believe it's just a steed, no barded. Mr. Carl Franz on top of his hippogriff, a unit of spears in the back for protection, unit of demigriff knights with halberds, and 2 units of Empire knights, along with 2 units of Empire outriders with grenade launchers. For me on Norsca, I ended up bringing 4 units of marauders with shields and 3 units of marauders with spears to go ahead and form this gigantic massive front line that was basically meant to deal with his front line here, disrupt that. My damage dealing units were 2 units of Marauder Berserkers and 2 units of Marauders with great weapons, followed by 2 Marauder Ice Wolf Chariots, the Frost Cannon from the campaign exclusive, a Marauder Chieftain on horseback, and a unit of Norscan Warhounds with 3 chevrons. Now, as the battle begins, this opening salvo of this Frost Cannon is just beautiful to watch. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check it out. Right off the bat, losing 15 models from that opening salvo, and that morale dipping down to like a little below half. That was the main idea here. I wanted to go ahead and disrupt his Empire Knights because cavalry is something that I did not really bring other than my chieftain, and I don't really consider that cavalry. The Warhounds, yes, they can help in the chasing down units and whatnot, but they're not essentially a cavalry unit in terms of like knights, melee type stuff. So I knew that I had to get rid of that right away. But what I did not see at the beginning was that these were grenade launcher outriders. I thought they were full-on pistoliers, so I was like, I'll be fine with the shields, but no. These guys wreaked massive damage. From the get-go, I did the same thing here to this Empire Knight unit. His outriders with grenade launchers ended up doing that to my units right here. You know, 1-for-1 right there. Mr. Franz now making his way up to the hilltop. Obviously, he prioritized that Frost Cannon as being a major threat, which is obviously the right choice to do here. So to counteract that, I ended up placing this unit of Marauders with great weapons at the hilltop, and I decided to, at the very last minute, start pulling back the artillery crew for the Frost Cannon so that it does not take damage, as well as leaving my Lord here to bait him. Now, I know that my Lord is not going to stand a chance against Mr. Franz, especially on a hippogriff, but nonetheless, it was there to bait him and keep him occupied so that these Marauders with great weapons can inflict massive damage and do what they need to do. Now, back to the front line, these Ice Wolf Chariots were able to keep the Empire Knights busy at bay and hold them down as a tar pit, which is great. Meanwhile, the front line is going to make some collision, going to go ahead and get some action. This unit hitting, oh wow, this unit getting clobbered by a cannonball right through the unit, as well as attacking this unit of Empire Knights, and being left in the rear to be rear flanked by the spears here. Magic going down in the center of the front line, as well as those outriders with grenade launchers still dealing massive damage to my Marauders out here. The first unit that got torn to bits is barely rallying and coming back into battle. This unit here of spears, which was protecting these cannons, is actually distracted now by this spear unit, which left this beautiful opening for my Norscan Warhounds to come in and pounce on those 2 great cannons and remove them off the field. Meanwhile, these halberdier demigriff knights are a little too busy pondering what direction or what they want to charge. Meanwhile, I'm gonna have to capitalize on every single advantage I have because I do not have long. As soon as I see these knights here, I decided to send this chariot up, see if I could test them out. But I decided halberds versus chariots, not the best of ideas, so we'll stick with the skirmish game here. Back with Mr. Franz, finally decided to leave the Frost Cannon alone after taking quite a bit of damage. He did make my Marauder Chieftain flee and hide in the woods for time being. I mean, who wouldn't with that hippogriff? And out on the front lines, things are not looking good for Norsca. We have Mr. Franz coming down and activating some of his debuffs. We have the Warrior Priest who is now joining in the fight. And exactly as my friend said, this looked like it was not meant to be, not a friendly situation for the Northerners. In the back, though, the Norscan Warhounds successfully taking down both gun crews, so that now there are no great cannons to actually threaten us. But infantry is still taking massive casualties due to those grenade launchers. Now these chariots had finally had enough. I needed a tar pit and I needed to act fast and take away the demigriff charge bonus. So, what did I do? Charge my dude. Meanwhile, the frost cannon was back in operational, landing its first opening salvo on another unit of the on its first unit of outriders with grenade launchers, easily taking down 6 models in its opening salvo. Morale dipping down to right about half, a little bit less than half, but this next 2 shots right there, it was just way too much for this unit. Broke them, they split, still taking damage as they leave, but right when that was open, right when it was over, the next salvo comes in and mercilessly hits the second unit of Outriders straight in the face. Wow. Now, Chariots here trying to see if they can offer some sort of support and get rid of these running units, the Empire Knights, so that they don't have to come back and face them again, because this front line is not looking good at all. Mr. Karl Franz is engaged in combat here, and once again activating some of those debuffs, some of that magic from the Warrior Priest. Not a good combination for the Northerners. As you can see, that morale is dipping low on every single section of the front line. These 2 chains here are the only ones that are holding these 2 links here are the only ones holding that chain together right now, and luckily, because nothing else is really standing up to anything else. This unit here, Marauders, about to get splattered by Mr. Franz and his demigriff, while my frost cannon begins to wreak havoc on this unit of halberdiers, because that's the real threat on the front line. Now, when that unit buckles, it opens up this unit and this unit of spears to go ahead and rush in this way, hopefully collapsing what's left of his army. But Mr. Franz, once again, sees the threat and goes in for the attack. Marauders ready at the front, axes in hand, ready to deliver their blow to Mr. Karl Franz, but Franz comes in with his debuff and again wreaking massive damage as well as morale dropping. This situation is not looking good for Norsca at all. Units are wavering, units are running, numbers are low, morale is low. Everything seems to be in the favor of the Empire at the moment, or at least coming that way due to the balance bar. It's breaking past half a little bit with on their favor, I assume. Pull back the artillery crew again to make sure that they out of damage so they can once again re-engage if it's possible. In this case, Mr. Franz heads back to the front line to go ahead and terrorize the front of the infantry units. And that seems to be what's going to do it for these guys, man. There's only one possibility. One thing that could possibly save this game for the Norskins, and it's right here. These Chaos Dwarves manning this Frost Cannon for the 3rd time in this battle. That could be the difference. And as the Empire notices, Mr. Franz trying to make his way out of that combat, starting to head this way towards the cannons. Mr. Franz is up in the air, heading straight for the Frost Cannons now. Oh, wait. He stopped in midair as the Frost Cannons are delivering salvos to the Demigriff Halberds. It's actually breaking the unit. It's bringing him down. Mr. Franz using a buff. He's coming in straight for the Frost Cannons this time. Warrior Priest raining down on him, but the morale buckles, and it seems like the Norskins have taken the bacon this time. Thank you guys for joining me. Wow, look at that. Frost Cannon, 138 kills, but the Outriders killing it. Definitely the MVPs of the Empire with 142 and 140 kills each unit. Wow. Norscan Warhounds, for a pack of Warhounds with 3 chevrons though, Not bad at all with 134 kills, and the Frost Cannon, obviously the MVP of this entire game, especially for the Norskins, with 138 kills. Shout out to my friend Joe Cool. Thank you guys very much for joining me today. Have a great one.